Welcome, everyone. Thank you very, very much for your time today. Much appreciated. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Glenn Faruya. I'm a local guy. I come from Hilo, graduated from Hilo High School and the University of Hawaii. Today, I have two co-hosts, Debbie and Stephen. They are my trusted partners in our journey here at Leadership Works. So before we start, just out of curiosity, could you just chat in for me, Debbie and Stephen? Where in Hawaii are you calling from or hooking up to us from? And if you're outside of Hawaii, what country or state? You know, yesterday, guys, we had somebody from Switzerland. It was like 12 o'clock midnight his time. So yeah, just out of curiosity, where are you from?
Okay, I see the chat box already starting. So hi, Gwen, nice to see you again. I see she's saying hi to Layla. So there's some for people that know each other here that are also saying hi to each other. So we have Doris coming in from Salvation Army and Manoa. We have Mililani. We have Guam in the house. Hafaday, Guam. We have Hilo, Saipan, the Northern Marianas Islands, Hilo, Aiea, Honolulu, more from Saipan. We've got lots of Honolulu and Hilo with us this morning. Kailua Kona. Right. And again, Honolulu First Insurance. Hi, Terry. It's been a long time. Mililani, Honolulu, Hilo, Maui, Isaac. Our hearts go out to you in Maui today. Everybody from Maui today. Man, thank you for being here. Really, truly. Pearl City. We have clinical labs, more Hawaii Law Enforcement Federal Credit Union with us today from Honolulu. Wow, more and more people just coming in. So I don't know if I got everybody, but I think I did. So we have a good mix of Pacific Islanders with us today. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Thanks for letting me know. So let's roll. So in the days of my youth, long time ago, you can see the difference in the hair color, right? I became very curious about what it takes to be an effective leader. Like really, like an insatiable need to find out what are the secrets of effective leadership. I was initially inspired by my boss. His name was Tony Taniguchi. He was the president of KTA Superstores. And Tony called me to his office one day and says, you know what, I got an assignment for you. I said, what? He said, I need you to develop our leaders, our managers and supervisors, because the only way we're really going to grow and sustain this growth is we've got to have good leadership. So that began this very interesting journey to identify and teach what are the principles of effective leadership. So I started reading books. I'm a voracious reader. I read 2 leadership books a month just to keep up with the latest technologies of leadership. I became a leadership seminar junkie. I would go to any workshop I could find on leadership. And I started to seek out these transformational leaders, not just leaders from Hawaii who have done really great. I wanted to find people who changed the world. So I sought and found W. Edwards Deming, went to Japan, turned Japan around. 29th in gross domestic product when he went there. 20 years later, they were number 3. So what the heck did he teach them? Walt Disney. I worked with a gentleman who worked with Walt Disney, the original, for many years. Then I started to test all these approaches and these methodologies. And then I got to work side by side for 40 years now. Our company is 41 years old. Side by side, face to face with highly respected, kind of beloved leaders, reverently admired in both the public and private sector. So it's been a very interesting ride because of this insatiable curiosity. So after 50 years of seeking to uncover the secrets of effective leadership and sharing them with thousands of people, I just want to show you 2 quotes, okay? Some thoughts shared by 2 people that kind of capture the essence of a lot of the kind of feedback we've been getting through the years. So here's the first one. I'll let you read it. You know, I was been with Norman since he first took on the presidency of the credit union, Hawaiian Financial. You know, this year there was a survey done by Forbes magazine, a research study, and they identified the best credit unions in all the states of America. Hawaiian Financial was number 2 on the top 5. In fact, you know, of the top 5, 3 of the top 5 credit unions in the state of Hawaii are our longtime clients. We have HFS in the house and Hawaii Central, Drake Tanabe. So these are the kind of people we've been working with through the many, many years. Here's the second quote I'd like to share with you and let you read it. You know, Ron Williams, I get chicken skin thinking about Ron Williams. There's many leaders today in Hawaii who were young men early on in their careers, and they kind of came to me and wanted help, and I supported them, helped them. I took them under my wings and tried to groom them. And Ron Williams, another one is a guy named Daryl Turner, who runs Napa stores throughout the state. Ron is just an amazing leader. And Ron, these guys are just beloved by their people, has always done well, even in difficult times. Ron's even a board member of HMSA today. He just pride in these people, because these are the people that took the information and ran with it, applied it, and it all showed that, you know what, it's not me, guys, okay? I'm not bragging here. It's the information. It's transformational. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you an important leadership lesson, one small lesson among many, but it's entitled, as you saw, I Quit, because there are a lot of people saying that, I quit. How do you tackle this turnover issue? I think PBN has a cover, on its cover is talking about this whole issue also. So it's a hot topic. So how do you make sure people don't quit? Now I'm going to teach you today a simple, proven 3-step protocol to grow and retain loyal, keyword there, loyal, so they don't quit, peak performing team members who deliver excellent service, who work cooperatively, who work accurately and productively, produce quality products, maintain a positive attitude, take initiative and go the extra mile, operate safely, and remain loyal. I can't promise you that these things are going to happen, but these things only happen with effective leadership. If you got weak leadership or absentee leadership, thinking, yeah, that's going to happen, you're going to get the total opposite, usually. So, and finally, this 3-step protocol will teach you methodology so people don't quit. You got to play defense here, okay? So, by the way, I'm going to do a presentation. Stick around after the workshop, okay? Because I have an opportunity I'd like to share with you, plus a gift that we're going to pass on to you. Okay, so let's start off. We've got to first identify 3 types of quitters. They come in different versions. So the first one are the quiet quitters. Employees who perform the minimal requirements of a job and don't give more time, effort, and enthusiasm absolutely necessary. So they just show up, okay? They generally resist taking the initiative, volunteering, or working overtime. You know what? I come here at 8, I go home at 5, and don't ask me to do anything extra, okay? Now go away. So it's who they are. These people do not subscribe to what was termed the hustle culture. See, I'm a baby boomer, right? You know, I grew up in a hustle culture. Hustle, man. You got to get a good job. You got to make money. You got to have a nice house. Hustle. These people said, hey, forget that hustle, man. I'm just going to go after quality of life here. This term went viral, quiet quitters, in 2022 on a TikTok piece. And everything went, whoop, because everybody started to relate to the fact that, yeah, I think I'm one of those too. And by the way, this is very interesting. In a 2022 Gallup survey of workers 18 years and older, look what they found. Now, it's hard to believe, okay, but this is what they revealed. Quiet quitters make up at least 50% of the workforce, probably more. Half the people are quiet quitting. When you think about it, right? They come to work, they do the job, they're not going to do any extra. I'm not going to give you the full-on effort here because I got my family out there. I got other things I got to do. So I'll work because I got to sustain my life, but that's about all I'm going to give you. Fascinating. The second type of quitter is the loud quitters. Loud quitting is now becoming more and more present in the literature. Loud quitters are. These are employees who take action that directly harm the organization. They sabotage goals and oppose its leaders. They'll give you a hard time, man. They'll blast you. And you know, Hawaii is a very, very small community, right? They start blasting off. And, you know, there are things like Glassdoor. Today, people go Glassdoor and blast your organization. It's like the Yelp of organizations, right? The same Gallup survey discovered that 1 in 5 or 18% of the global workers allowed quitting today. Wow. Or are actively just totally disengaged, like whatever. But they're not going to help you. They're going to potentially hurt you. A lot of them, what they do within the culture, right? They start chirping, right? All this negativity spread out like garbage all over the place. That's sort of a soft, loud quitter. And then finally, the third one is the actual quitters. They say, you know what, I'm gone here. I'm out of here. Bye-bye. So those are the ones that we're talking about. Now watch what the data shows. According to Gallup, right? They've done this several times now. The cost of replacing an individual employee who has turned range, and you HR people all know this, from 1/2 to 2 times the employee's annual salary. Now you go calculate your turnover rate, turn that into numbers. Okay, now go find out what their average salary is and figure out what that cost is annually for you. Holy smokes, it's a lot of money, right? But it's all gone now. So before I show you these 3 steps to mitigate quitting, I got to do something here, okay? I have an obligation. There are a few baseline organizational factors that need to be in place. So all I'm going to show you this protocol is not guaranteed it's going to work if some other factors underlying the organization are not in place. Top priorities that attract employees based on a recent greenhouse candidate experience report said this. Okay, these are the top factors. Number 1 was people still need pay, man. And you know, in Hawaii, that's a cute cost of living, guys. You got to pay me adequately, or you know what? I'm going to find some place where give me 25 cents more an hour, because that 25 cents more an hour can be very helpful. Greater job security is what they want. They also want career advancement opportunities. You know where I think, and this is just my just readings and observation, younger people, millennials, they want growth, man. I don't want to stay and get stagnated. You know what? Unlike my grandpa, you know, he stayed 40 years at Hawaiian Electric or wherever. That's not going to happen anymore. They will move. And they want flexibility. There's going to be more and more emphasis on, I need more flex time. And there's a lot of data on the more flexibility you give people, the less they quit. I have the data. I'm not going to show it to you. You know what this reminds me of? Way long time ago, there was a guy named Frederick Herzberg, and he came up with a theory, and I really believe this theory still works, you know. He said there are both hygiene factors in an organization and there are motivators, okay? So certain things are hygiene, certain things are motivator. Now watch this. Hygiene factors are more extrinsic, okay? There's stuff like compensation, job security, advancement opportunities, you know, work conditions. That's extrinsic, that's hygiene. If you don't have these in place, okay, they're either not adequate or absent, the hygiene factors, people will leave. You got to give me more, man. But see, they don't necessarily motivate, okay? So just because you give them the pay and the security, they're not going to be, not motivated. He then further went to say the motivators are things like intrinsic, internal, right? Where purposefulness, sense of contribution, love of job. So you know, as a leader, we got to look at this Herzberg theory both ways. I think the company has a role to play in making sure the hygiene factors are in place. Otherwise, we don't stand a chance, guys. Somebody else can pay them more, right? We also got to put people in positions where they are doing things that feel meaningful. So there's major challenges here that underlie what I'm going to talk about today. So now that we know what the organization needs to focus on, okay, the hygiene factors, we move on. Our goal today is how do you grow and retain high-performing team members who already work for you, the superstars, so they don't get all disgruntled and run away, quit. So what do? Okay, let's get real practical here. Let's get very functional here, not some esoteric theory here. So with compensation, job security, opportunities, and flexibility, those hygiene factors covered. What's left is the all-important factor for employee growth and retention. This is all important. To me, this is make or break what I'm going to show you now. You know, some of my favorite authors are Kouzes and Posner. They wrote some just landmark books in leadership. And why I like Kouzes and Posner, it's all data-based, it's all research-based. And they're pretty profound what they find over 40-year spread now, okay? So I believe when Kouzes and Posner say something, I believe. And here's what they said. the leader who has the most influence over people's desire to stay or leave. Okay, which leader has the most influence? The big boss, the CEO? Their commitment to the people's commitment to the organization's vision and values, their ethical decisions and actions. Which leader influences these things the most? Their treatment, the treatment of customers, their ability to do their jobs well. Which leader has the most influence here? And the direction of the career of these people, do they stay, do they go? You know who this leader is, according to Kouzes and Bosner? Here's their answer. Their immediate supervisor. You think people want to hang around if they're working for a jerk? Somebody who's mean-spirited, yell at them, or even worse, don't even talk to them. You know what I believe? The worst leader is not the one that's somewhat assertive and aggressive. At least they care. At least they're present. The absentee leader is the worst one. Like, it's like, I guess you don't give a rip about me. So think about that. Okay. So what then does this leader do, the immediate supervisor, to make sure people don't leave? So we're going to take a diagnostic kind of prescriptive approach. My main clients in my practice are in medicine. That's where I met people like Tiffany, do a lot of work with many, many facilities in healthcare. And I've worked with a lot of doctors. In fact, in my executive coaching, it's primary doctors and physician leaders. So we're going to show you a process, a 3-step protocol, where step 1 is you have to understand what the goal is. Number 2, you have to do a very good diagnosis, and then you have to treat appropriately. You know, to me, the best doctors out there, the absolute best, are good diagnosticians. Because if you can't figure out what's wrong, how are you going to treat it? Right? Same thing with your employees. Okay, so we're going to take you through this process. So how do you tackle turnover in 3 key steps? Step number 1, the goal is to recognize the 2 key qualities of a peak performer. Here's where I get into a little bit of review for you graduates, but it's very important, this review, because you got to make sure you're following through on this. The 2 fundamental attributes of a loyal peak performer are, number 1 is high skill. You have done everything possible to build a competency of these people. You really provide education, teaching. I see correlation, okay, in organizations that invest in education and those that don't. These are employees that say, I like my job and I'm really good at it. I feel that I'm learning and growing. Do your people say that about working where they work? The second characteristic or attribute is high will. This is more the commitment. See, competence is more the head and the hands. I can do the job and I know how to do it, right? The will is the heart. Do they have the heart, the commitment? And a lot of people will leave mostly because of the lack of the will. I don't like this place. I don't like my leader. I don't like the people here. And the will goes down, right? So if they're high commitment, they would say stuff like, my work is meaningful and I feel I'm making a difference. I really like the people I work with, and I really, really like the vision of the company. Are they saying that about your companies? Okay. High skill, high will is the goal that you're trying to achieve. Here's the point. When you have high skill, high will people, especially in Hawaii, when you have invested in them, you care for them, you lead them well. In Hawaii, there's this obligatory sense, okay, to give back, to support, to be loyal. In Japanese, they call that word giri. It's a sense of obligation back to the leader because you have done so much for me. And by the way, giri is not a thought process. You don't think you react, man. The boss says, hey, can you help me out? You go, yeah, what do you need? It's like a reaction, giri. Do you people have giri for you? So now, a technical point here that's very important. I have to make this technical point. Skill and will are task specific. You cannot look at a whole person, okay, Tiffany, and say, Tiffany is high skill, high will. Cannot, because Tiffany does a whole bunch of different tasks. And on the different tasks, Tiffany might be at different levels of skill and will. There might be some she's high skill, high will. There's some tasks where Tiffany is really skilled, but she don't like doing it. Oh, damn, I have to do this stupid thing. There might be some things that she's very excited about, new technology, but she has no idea how to do it. So she's low skill, high will, right? I don't know, maybe Tiffany has some things she's low at, just low skill, low will, okay? So task specific, I give you the best example I can give you is when I was at KTA and we brought in scanners. Remember that? Tony, my boss, very, very progressive. We were the first integrated chain-wide scanner system in the state of Hawaii. Number one, okay, Insta bakeries, Insta farming, thing took off, okay? So, there were long periods of time where all the cashiers worked on the cash registers, right? These cash registers, and they were really good, high skill, high will. And then Tony decides, okay, we got to invest in technology. The future is scanners. So we invest and we bring them in, right? Now the tasks change, right? Because it's a different piece of equipment. And by the way, keep in mind, whenever you make change in your organizations, okay, you better be reassessing the task here. Don't assume because they were good in an old task, they're going to be good at a new task. No, it's not going to work that way. So, right, initially they were high skill, high will, right? The majority of them. When we brought that new technology, things started to change. When you change the task, we had some people that were low skill. They didn't know how to use the scanner, but they were high will, man, let's go. New technology. Yes, this is exciting. I want to learn. And then there were the old timers, so I just say it that way, but they were the old timers, generally speaking. They also had low skill because they didn't know how to use this thing, but their will went boom, plummeted. Why you guys go change this technology? 30 years I work cash register, and now you go change it. And you know what? I'm going to retire already. And all disgruntled. So you cannot make the judgment call whole person. You can only go task by task. Okay, now, just another technical point. Sometimes, and especially today, the task is hidden. What you think is the task isn't necessarily the task. I'll give you an example. And this is very common today. You know what the task is for a lot of people? Resilience is a task. They don't know how to handle adversity. Because, they never handled adversity in their life. So all of a sudden, adversity, boom, right? Freak out because I don't know what to do. And then they quit because they can handle it, right? So resilience is a hidden task. And sometimes it's these underlying things that are making people quit, not the fact that they don't know how to use the equipment or are excited about using it. And here's another caution that I'd like to pass to you right now. Whenever you work with people today, you got to be very, very careful, okay? Got to be careful because there's a lot of bubble people out there. Bubble people. And by the way, when I say bubble people, I mean all generations. I am not picking on millennials or younger people, okay? It's all generations. My generation, boom, get plenty of these bubble people, okay? Bubble people sort of grew up in a bubble, okay? A protected bubble. And these are people oftentimes shielded from adversity, sheltered from difficulties, rescued every time they struggle. I see this in leadership, where some of these leaders are so protective of their people, right? They always got to be there to rescue. I don't want you to suffer. And then all of a sudden, when they retire, these people cannot handle. And we've had cases where people quit because they were too embarrassed to reveal that, you know what, I was one of the boss's favorite, but I don't know how to do my job. You got to watch. You know what's interesting here? You're going to see more and more of this because of helicopter parenting. My opinion, helicopter parent, shield them from adversity, man. Don't make them suffer. Let them live a good life, okay? Holy smokes. And then all of a sudden, you know what happens? All well-intentioned, okay? But then people become very fragile and very brittle. Why do you think HR is so busy today with calls? Excuse me, HR, my boss, he just yelled at me. Jeez. I'm going to file a harassment suit against him. Oh, geez, just for raising my voice a little bit. So be careful, guys. That's the opposite, by the way, of resilience, isn't it? So how to tackle turnover, 3 easy steps. So goal number 1, simple. Know where you're after. You're after high skill, high will, okay? That's the goal. Be very, very cognizant of the fragility of the people today as you pursue forward in accomplishing this. Now, step number 2 is your diagnosis, right? You got to now diagnose. You got to be able to read people like a linebacker. Like a linebacker, yes, for those of you who've never been exposed to me, we teach through metaphor, a lot of metaphors. So the basic fundamental skill of leadership, it cuts throughout leadership, okay? Micro, macro, you still got to do this. You got to have to play linebacker. And the linebacker basically has 3 skills. Number 1, they have to read. They have to be very, very aware, mindful awareness, and very sensitive, okay? You got to be sensitive to people, sensitive to situations. They're constantly reading. One of the biggest problems I see in leadership today, there are a lot of people, yeah, they have eyes, yeah, they don't see. They get ears, yeah, they don't hear. These are leaders now, okay? That's totally unconscious about what's going on. especially with their people. Leaders, secondly, have to shed, okay? Shed, linebackers shed in the offense line coming. They want to try to block them or evade them, right? So shed, basically, you got to be able to prioritize based on importance and urgency. You got to be able to take the things that are not as important, not as urgent, and shed, okay? And go after things that are meaningful and significant. And then finally, the third step of the linebacker, third skill, is they got to be able to respond appropriately. So here, read, right? Shed, prioritize, and then respond appropriately given the situation or person. This requires a lot of flexibility and versatility. You cannot be so rigid and stuck in one way of doing things. It's not going to work. So now, key to effectiveness is to respond appropriately. The key word in our training is appropriate. Just be appropriate to the person's needs, people's needs, and also the situation requirements. Situational awareness, you heard that before. Be aware of what's happening in the situation. Be aware of people's needs. And you're constantly playing this linebacker role. So this is step number 2. You're going to be an effective linebacker. Now, let me show you how 2 examples of how this works. You know, I learned this basically from doctors. Because if you look at what a doctor does, right? The first thing they got to do is they got to diagnose. They got to figure out what's wrong. That's the read, the linebacker read of a doctor. What the heck is the illness here? Now, if you ever listen to doctors, they go to this process of elimination. Not all of them, but many of them, right? And they use these 2 words. Okay, we're ruling this out, we're ruling this out, we're ruling this out, and we're ruling this. So we're narrowing it down here. But they rule out. That's shedding, right? And finally, they respond appropriately by giving the appropriate treatment. But you see why I told you the best doctor is the best diagnostician, right? Because once you know what the problem is, then you can solve it. Here's another more day-to-day example for all of us as leaders, immediate supervisors. You walk into your office, you hit it for lunch with a friend, or you walk into a meeting in a standard weekly meeting. You hit it down the aisle in the office, right? And then you see Mary read. Mary looks like this. She looks really upset, like really sad. So you read, right? Mary's not too happy. Something's up here. So now shed is this. I'm going to shed the lunch and I'm going to shed that meeting. Doesn't matter if I go late. Okay. Right now, my priority, okay, is Mary. She's my employee. She's looking like this. I have to do something. So I'm going to now respond appropriately and go up to Mary and say, Mary, come, sit down, talk to me. You look really, really upset today. How can I help you? You see the sensitivity, you see the versatility, you see the selflessness that make an effective leader. So always think about, man, what do you do when you walk in? You know, there are a lot of leaders. Remember I told you, they have eyes they cannot see, they don't see, and ears they don't hear. They walk right past people like Mary. Jeez, I guess this guy don't care, huh? Okay, so what's the fundamental linebacker read with people? So step 2 is the diagnosis. Now, what's the read? What is the linebacker reading with regard to people? Now, I want you to look at these 2 words, skill and will. You notice there's 2 words inside skill and will. The word is ill, you know, like sickness, ill. So if an employee that you have is not at peak performance, high skill, high will, then there's a problem here. And your diagnosis is like a doctor. Is the ill on the skill side? They don't know how to do it. Or is the ill on the will side? It's more of a heart issue, right? A motivational issue. So the 2 diagnostic questions to ask when there are performance or behavioral problems. Somebody's not behaving or they're not performing, right? And the graduates in the room know this. I teach them to do it through rap. You got to do it through rap, okay? And I have a friend of mine who was complaining to me one day about, he told me, you know what, you drive me crazy. I said, why? He said, you know, 20 years, you taught me this diagnostic questions and you did it in rap. And, you know, 20 years later, I'm still doing it the way you taught me. And you got to kind of put some energy into it. And the 2 diagnostic questions are this then, right? Is the ill in the skill or is the ill in the wheel? Like that. That's what you got to do, right? When you're looking at your people and they're not at high, right? Something's off here. So is the ill in the skill, ill in the wheel, or is it both? Sometimes it's both, guys. So now, if the ill is in the skill, okay, your diagnosis, they just can't do it. You read it, they can't do it. You can pick it up through poor quality work, mistakes, right? Inconsistencies, unpredictability, kind of slow moving and not very timely. Often they look confused and sort of disorganized, and they just can't finish the work. That's a read, right? That there's possibly an ill in the skill. Now, if there's an ill in the will, there's more hesitancy here, right? So you're going to notice things like they're kind of annoyed and frustrated. They tend to be uncooperative and sometimes real stuck, right? Sluggish and lethargic. See a lot of passive aggressive behaviors taking place here, apathetic and passive aggressive. Sometimes they get PO'd, okay, angry and resentful. But you got to pick it up. There's something off here if they're acting like that. And it's more will, heart side, right? Not head and hand side on the skill. So how do you tackle turnover? In 3 key steps. Number 1, know that you're after high skill, high will, right? Number 2, now you're going to constantly diagnose your people. Read like a linebacker. Is the ill in the skill or is the ill in the will? Okay? Because you're going to have to address this because, you talk about tackling turnover. If somebody is so frustrated because nobody teaches me how to do my job here, and then they scold me because I don't do it, you know what? I'm out of here, man. Hate this place. Or, they're down, they're frustrated, they're scared. The whole environment today with the fires, everybody's kind of like uncomfortable. And you're telling jokes, you're kind of inappropriate in your behavior. You're not addressing that there might be some will issues right now. And you're kind of glossing it over. Like, give me a break. People lose respect for you. So the diagnosis is step number 2. So number 3, logically, is you got to now treat, right, to build skill and build will. Treatment is very simple and zero basic. And by the way, what I'm teaching you today is fundamental, basic leadership. You can talk about all the theories you want, okay? But fundamentally, on the line, immediate supervisor, everybody, including CEO, they're going to be watching for skill and will. If the ill is in the skill side, they can't do it. They're not doing it right. You got to provide direction as a leader. You know what is direction? Direction is like obvious things like you better teach them, demonstrate, explain, right? Invest in education. Direction is to clarify. Sometimes it's confused, clarify, focus, align people. Sometimes direction is to monitor and supervise, to provide corrective feedback, to kind of guide them along, validate and confirm. Sometimes they just don't have the confidence on the decision. So you say, you know what? That's what I would do. Validation. Be there for them. Direction could also mean dissemination of information, especially in times of uncertainty. Like right now with the fire issue. There's a lot of uncertainty, man. People are scared right now. And me, what I'm feeling? I'm feeling survivor guilt, man. I turn on the water and I go, water. Like, oh, man. A lot of people don't even have water, right? I have a house. Geez. Dissemination of information is very important part of direction, okay? And see, this is why, guys. Information that you disseminate contains 2 seeds inside, okay? 1 seed in information is a seed of security. When you let people know what's going on, they feel more secure, right? Oh, okay, I feel more comfortable now. At least I understand what the situation is. But it also contains the seed of significance. When you let your people know what's going on, you disseminate information. You know what? You make them feel like, I guess I'm important. I guess they care about me. Yeah, actually, let me know what's going on here. Think about this, right? 2 seeds. So now watch. Today we live in whitewater times. Whitewater, turbulent whitewater times. It's called VUCA. I don't know if you ever heard of VUCA, but VUCA is an acronym: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Sound like today, right? And that's the world we all live in. VUCA, whitewater, okay? So here's my question to you. Will a team or people support you as a leader if they feel insecure? Right now, there are a lot of people feeling really insecure about what the heck's going to happen here to our company, to the whole community. And you know why people get pissed off? Because when they don't get communicated, they feel like you don't care, man. You just leave us out here and you let us suffer and nobody around, nobody communicate to. Just think about, watch the news and tell me if insecurity and insignificance, right, are not kind of prevalent issues given crisis. People want to feel secure, know what's going on. They don't want to feel like you care about me, man. You're going to take care of me somehow. By watching the news. So I put this here because, right now, man, you got to be really working to pass those 2 seeds, seed of significance and seed of security to your people. And that's part, to me, direction, right? The second treatment then is if the ill is in the skill, then, right? Remember, you're going to be high in direction. If the ill is in the will, you got to provide a lot more support. And that's it, guys. It's real basic. Support basically is you got to increase your frequency of contact. You know what? I'll stand by this forevermore. You cannot lead effectively if there's no frequency of contact. And the problem with a lot of leaders is they don't meet with the people regularly, one-on-one, or even in small groups, or it's so cursory when they meet and so surface level. You got to increase frequency of contact, guys. And here's the problem. One of the most common forms of leadership today is leave alone, zap. You know what that means? You don't have frequency of contact, so you leave your people go, whatever you like, okay? And then when they screw up and make a mistake, right? Boom, you hammer them, you zap them, right? Then they don't see you again until they make another mistake, and then you zap them again. And then you know what the impact of this is going to be? You call, oh, could you come to my office, please? You know what the reaction? Oh no, what did I do now? Yeah, some leadership, right? They're all freaking out every time you call them. That cannot happen, guys. See, proximity is a very, very important piece of this puzzle here, okay? Proximity, and why frequency of contact gives you proximity. See, what happened in the pandemic is we lost physical proximity. And a very good example here, because when we lost physical proximity, everybody had to stay home, right? We lost social proximity. People don't eat lunch together, no more this water cooler talk, joking around every once in a while. We lost the emotional proximity. Mary, who looked down, I would never ever see Mary because she's at home. How do I know she's upset? You lose emotional proximity where you can go over and say, hey, Mary, come talk to me. And you know what else you lose? You lose mental proximity. If I got a problem, I'm stuck. I can just walk, to the next cubby hole over there, right? And ask my peer, hey, you know what? How do you do this? And quickly I get an answer, right? You lose proximity, okay? Because there's no physical, you lose social, emotional, and mental. I don't know how you lead, guys. Supporters also have weekly check-ins. I am a firm believer in the one-on-one briefing, the one-on-one huddle, which creates the social, emotional, and mental proximity. And by the way, think about this, okay? Just something to think about. Is it leadership just a conversation? What else is leadership but a conversation? The vision. Don't you have to have a conversation about where we're headed? There's a problem, they're not doing their work. Shouldn't you converse with them? Isn't education all conversational, right? You're not conversing with your people. How are you leading? But again, you need that frequency of contact. Look at this. Employees whose managers check in at least weekly rated their leaders nearly 2 times higher than managers who never checked in. 2 times higher. And then you want them not to quit, but you never pay any attention to them. Somebody once told me this, guys. The most basic form of love is attention. You really love somebody, you can give them attention, okay? Support is also to empathize and listen. Support also means to praise and congratulate, encourage and reassure. Are you doing that? A lot of employees tell me they're not getting this thing. Acknowledged employees are more likely to feel connected to the organization, feel connected to their colleague, feel like their workload is manageable, and more likely to recommend their company to a friend. That's all research-based. Another thing on support, you got to make sure, especially today, guys, that you're creating psychological safety. Psychological safety is the belief that no one will be punished or humiliated for speaking up, contributing ideas, asking questions, divulging concerns, or making mistakes. You got to keep your people safe. Look at this now. Of those who feel psychologically safe, only 11% were looking for a new job, compared to 20% of job seekers who don't feel psychologically safe. You know what? If I'm getting stressed out because I don't know if somebody's going to yell at me, or even my physical being is at risk here, do you think I'm going to hang around? I don't think so. Support also is, and this is really important, guys, you got to right-size the job scope of the overburdened peak performer. The high skill, high will. Bad habit. We tend to dump on them and give them more work because they do the job and they do it well. So we just give them more work. And the low lows, right, that don't do their job, they get nothing. So they get rewarded for slacking off, and the peak performer gets punished for doing a good job. You got to watch that scope creep on these peak performers, guys. Be mindful of cues indicating overwhelm and frustration. Be really careful with this one, because I'm going to tell you the dumbest thing you're ever going to do as a leader, as a manager, You should go overwhelm a peak performer or mistreat a peak performer, right? These are the dependable, loyal people. They're going to quit, man. And you know what's stupid? And the worst case scenario, they go to your competitor. And all of a sudden, you train for your competitor, a peak performer. And your competitor saying, hey, thank you very much. Appreciate that, man. We saved a lot of educational costs there. Really appreciate it. How dumb is that? Well, better you take care of these peak performers so they don't run away. And finally, you got to mediate conflicts, guys. You know, a lot of Hawaii people, you know why they leave? They have conflict with people in the organization, and all this passive aggressive stuff that goes on, right? They say, you know what, I'm out of here. So that's the 3 steps, guys. Know the goal, high skill, high will. Got to be a good linebacker. Diagnosing is the eel in the steel, eel in the wheel. And then you got to treat it. It's so fundamental. Build skill through direction, build will through support. And if you look at the current situation, even like on Maui, right? Is that what people are looking for? I need direction. What, how do I do this? Where do I get the money? What's going to happen? They need direction. And they also need support though, right? And Hawaii's pretty good. I'm going to be honest with you. I was watching these press conferences, and I think they're doing a good job in the press conferences of keeping people informed. So it's not easy what they're doing. So I thank you very much for allowing me to share, guys. I have much appreciated for all of you showing up. If you found today's lesson helpful, I encourage you to consider attending our signature leadership workshop, the 5 C's of Effective Leadership. Many of you in the room have attended. The 5 C's of Effective Leadership is 48-hour leadership course spread out over 6 weeks. The course runs from September 13th to October 27th, last one for this year. Offered at a special price of $12.45 per person. By the way, I just want to show you a comparison. You know, if you go to the Center for Creative Leadership and go do a leadership workshop, they'll charge you $1,500 to $2,500 a day. We give you the whole thing for what 1 day at Center is. And I believe in our program. I think it is as good as any program out there. I'm just going to be very boastful about that. So you can register online. We'll be doing some dropping the chats and other places. You'll get it through email. Registration ends on September 6th. Okay, so you get till September 6th. In the course, you'll gain a comprehensive and holistic perspective of leadership. So we don't just go, you know, a little bit of here, a little bit. No, we give you the whole package. You got to have a perspective. You have to have a mindset, purpose, principles, people, and process. Focus on self-improvement. We do a lot of self-improvement things in here. You know what, guys? If you cannot manage yourself, you cannot control your mood, you cannot control your temper, you cannot manage your time, how you manage anybody else? You cannot manage one. How you manage 10? You cannot, guys. You'll learn practical protocols, how-to protocols on how do you give a clear instruction, how do you conduct productive briefing, how do you praise authentically, how do you address unacceptable behaviors, how you listen empathetically, how do you teach? These are all in protocol. And we do have, for those of you who are graduates, we have now created one master protocol. So remember Clear, Server, and Triple E and all that, all consolidated into one master protocol. It's fascinating. Indelible images in your mind will be planted in your head. The graduates can tell you. These will become real clear after a while, going through the course. We also hardwire a new language. People who come out of our class, they speak a different language. So if I say bowl, I say banana, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Drama, bifurcation, words like that. And finally, they get to understand, not finally, but they get to understand how leadership works best in an island culture. See, Hawaii is in the middle of the blue continent, okay? And we've been heavily influenced by 3 cultures, East, West, and Polynesia. So when you have that mix, it creates a different kind of dynamic, different kind of context. You better know what you're doing if you want to lead effectively in Hawaii. So that's the 3-way culture blend. And finally, last piece is you're going to get to engage with and network with a lot of leaders from both the public and private sector. You're going to be sitting in breakout rooms with CEOs and high-level government officials. You'll be sitting with supervisors, all kinds of people from all kinds of industries. Usually they run from 50 to 70 people in a group. So you'll make a lot of friends. And by the way, to avoid Zoom fatigue, we're going to do a lot of breakouts. We have a lot of chats, a lot of polls, and a lot of reflection time. The days are short, guys, because it's Zoom. We've worked really hard to manage this. We go Wednesday and Friday, 10 to 3. But the way we do it, we give you an hour break for lunch. So 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon. But we also give you a stretch break in between the hours, okay? Time commitment, the average person will work 90,000 hours in their career, in their lifetime. That's the average, okay, 90,000 hours. So here's my question. Would an investment of 48 hours in a 90,000 hour career be considered a good use of time if it leverages better self-management and career fulfillment, improvements in your leadership behaviors and operating system to deliver better quality and productivity, and finally, to develop a high-performance, team-centered, customer-focused team? 48 hours now out of 90,000. So, by the way, what's the cost of not investing in leadership development? What? Inconsistent quality, lower productivity, poor service, and lost customers, and declining morale. Okay, so join the thousands. And I mean, there have been a lot of people who have come to us. We've been so blessed, guys. Join us, because we will do whatever we can to help you. Join the many, many companies that have sent all of their leaders to our program to help them to become better companies. And so we're going to send you there's a tool. Look inside the chat box or an email inbox, and there will be a tool that looks like this. So it's a skill workshop. Make copies of it. So you put the name of the employee, and it helps you do the diagnostic as to what the heck is the issue here related to the task. Remember, it's task specific. So that's yours to keep. And if you need a review or you want somebody to see this, we're going to drop a link on Friday, August 18th, and it'll be available to August 22nd. This, what you just saw, will be available, okay, on recording. So my last comment is, could you be the next Daniel? Could you be the next Daniel? You know what's really interesting? We get this kind of letters all the time. This is what Daniel, he was two sessions ago, Daniel wrote us and said this: the 5 seeds has truly planted something brand new inside of my spirit and myself as a leader. I am truly not the same person I was before this course, and for the better. Not only did Leadership Works provide an introspective look into myself as a person, it allowed me to view leadership from an outside perspective than my own, and be able to determine what habits and procedures I can implement in my managerial style to make me a better leader. I truly believe that every person in management across any company industry should participate in a Leadership Works course with Debbie and Glenn. The only reason I show you this is that is Debbie's and my commitment. You know, we just want to help people. We want to help Hawaii, because if we don't do that and we don't develop the leaders for the future, the next gen, what's going to happen to Hawaii? And I'm older already, right? I'm in the last quarter already. And I'm going to give it all I got in my last quarter to try to do whatever I can to help the young next generation. I want to be their Mr. Miyagi, okay? So we can keep perpetuating the good work we're doing in Hawaii. So with that, I thank you very much, but I'm going to stop here. You guys have any questions? Can be technical questions, questions on the course. Now, if I don't get to answer all your questions, I'm going to ask you to chat in the questions. Stick around after 1 o'clock, and I'll be around to finish up, okay? So you can chat in. Debbie, I'll let you facilitate this part. Thank you, though, guys.
Okay, thank you. So we wanted to open up the time right now for some Q&A, and we do have a little bit of time left in our lunch hour. And I know a lot of you have questions about dealing with the HR issues that we're facing in terms of turnover, retention of really good employees, and some of the things that Glenn has covered today. So if you have a question that you'd like us to answer, please drop it into the chat box right now. If you feel uncomfortable putting it in a public format, you can direct chat to me and I will keep your name, your company confidential. And many people feel more comfortable doing that, and that's totally fine. So we're going to open up to questions right now about how do we tackle turnover, make sure that we don't lose good employees that we have. Okay. Thank you. And thank you all for being here as well today, and the nice comments that have come in the chat box right now. Okay, so questions that you might have. Anybody has any questions? We had some really good questions yesterday that came through, and I know it's heavy on people's minds right now.
You can leave, no problem.
Okay, so here's the first question. Let's see. What does a weekly check-in look like? What items are discussed at the weekly check-in? That's an excellent question. Thank you.
You know, when you come to our class, we're going to teach you a protocol called the Apple Briefing. And the Apple Briefing is an acronym, okay? And the acronym basically will help you, guide you through this, either the one-on-one or the small group. So, like you start with an acknowledgement, acknowledgement. If you got to apologize for something, you apologize. P would be you set the plan for the week. You might praise somebody. These are all the P's. You might show them what the priorities of the week are. And then there's many, many more. And then there's the L where you teach a little lesson, you listen to people. All right. And then comes the E where you end friendly, you kind of end on a positive note, you emphasize certain things like the vision, values, etc. There's more to that apple, but in the course we'll give you that kind of guidelines so that when you're in the one-on-one, shouldn't you start out acknowledging the person? If you did something to hurt the person, shouldn't you apologize? Shouldn't you kind of have a conversation about the plan, maybe their career plan or certain problems that they might be facing? What are their priorities, right? Shouldn't you listen to them? See, the more frequency of contact you have, the more you can catch things as they happen. If you came to our class, you'll learn this thing called wispy tendrils. You catch things when they're small, so they don't grow and become big problems. So, yeah, make your own checklist of things that you want to cover, but Apple would be what I would recommend. I just gave you some of the elements of Apple.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Good advice. And also just as a side to that, this came up in yesterday's group. Sometimes we forget that we need these check-ins with our peak performers as well. We tend to kind of weigh heavy on checking in with those that aren't the peak performers. But remember what Glenn said earlier, when we overwhelm and overburden the peak performers and we don't check in on them, then we lose the really valuable team players that we have. So make sure that your weekly check-ins include those that may seemingly be doing okay. Just check in with them as well. Okay, a couple more questions have come up. I want to make sure we get to them because I think everybody can benefit from these excellent questions that are coming in. How do we convince tunnel vision managers to heed some advice or recommendations we make regarding unhappy employees?
That's always a challenge. This is why I'm telling you guys, invest in your young people early. And when they first start their careers, you set them on the right track. Some of these people have been leading for 30 years, 20 years, and they were never really taught properly how to lead. So they get there's an atrophy now, they're stuck. So now you gotta, it always comes down to choices. Look, here's the expectation, okay, leader. You're failing to do these expectations, and here's evidence that you're not doing it. So I'll give you a couple of choices here, okay? Number one, we'll start and work with you to help you do what you got to do as a leader. We can offer you to go to a class, whatever it takes, but you still got to do this expectation, okay? A lot of times, if there's no clarity on the expectation, they think, well, must be okay. Nobody said I had to do that. You got to be real clear, okay? And then provide them the support necessary. But you got other options. You want to just become a senior technician right now? And you can do what you like doing without having to lead. So now you can quit if you like, you can retire. In a lot of situations, and these are smaller family-owned, small kind company, we figure out ways to severance them out. Because some of these people, man, they become blockages. And you know what's going to happen to if you keep tolerating this thing, right? The young guys going to get all frustrated and they all going to start quitting. So now where are you? You're trying to preserve the one inept leader and you lose all your young people. Make any sense? And there's not enough, in my opinion, and it's not easy, guys, okay? There's not enough courage. We tolerate this stuff too much. I know what you're thinking. Oh, but if I get rid of him, there's nobody to take his place. That's one of the challenges that we have. But that's why the organization has got to be very education oriented to build bench. The problem with a lot of no bench because they never train anybody, right? The next gen is not ready, or the next gen, there's no next gen. So I think you're gonna address these people. You have to. You can just leave status quo and just do nothing. But then you got to think, what are the ramifications down the road a little bit? So in some cases, I tell these companies, you know what? Sell already, okay? Right now we're at peak value, get rid of it, okay? Because you don't seem to be able to do it, and you seem hesitant to do it anyway. So let somebody else do it, and you take your money and run. That's a horrible thing to say in a workshop like this, but that's reality today because of weak leaders. Sometimes there's an owner that's weak, or they just don't want to let go, right? Sorry for that. That's my pontification editorial comment.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
go.
you, Glenn. Okay, another question that has come up, which I think is really great, particularly because we're all here in island cultures, and I think Glenn will speak to this very well. In island culture, there are younger employees who defer to older ones, especially, of course, their supervisors. The thing is that they won't speak up if they are overworked or if there are too many tasks to complete. How can this be addressed for people that are afraid to speak up publicly?
The answer I give you is that's why I say, that one-on-one briefing, you got to up the frequency. And in the one-on-one, you're going to have to create this degree of comfort where they tend to speak up. But because you have the cadence set where there's more frequency, you should be able to pick it up. And a lot of times, guys, you listen with your eyes as well as your ears. You don't only listen with your ears, you listen with your eyes. And you got to be able to spot that something's off here, man. As a peak performer, you look kind of frustrated, and so you got to query. You know what, Joe? You look frustrated. You actually look kind of tired. Talk to me. What's up? You too much to do, too much on your plate. Talk to me. What can we do to help you? One time I was at Kaiser and I was working with DJ Mailer. DJ was an excellent leader. Went to Kamehameha schools. Now is at Bishop Museum. She's the kind of leader that will settle things down. I remember one time there was a department, they were all like freaking out because they had too much work to do. And so I went with DJ to this department and she said, okay, let's take this easel pad, write down all the stuff you guys doing. And then she said, okay, is that all? You can mark the priority or whatever. And she took out pen and said, shoot. Okay, you know what? Don't need to do those. Just do this. Anybody asks you, tell them I said, it's okay. And then, they're like, whoo, thank you. Because Hawaii people, we got good hearts. We want to do it all right. We want to be helpful. Aloha. We're part of Ohana, so we got to do everything. And we kill ourselves in the process. So you got to be able to help them prioritize, because otherwise they're going to try to do everything because of the good hearts oftentimes. But if they get frustrated, you know what happened, right? And no relief comes, then they quit on you. Forget it. I give up already. Bust my butt. They don't help me out. They just give me more work. I said, screw it. I'm going to find another job, or it's going to quit. They're saying that subconsciously, okay? So anyway, that's a quick answer. But keep the cadence going. See, it's still fundamental. Cadence of the one-on-one linebacker read is the ill in the skill, ill in the will, and do whatever you can to try to offset and build on skill and build on will. You cannot go away from those basics, guys. There's nothing fancy about this, okay? Just basic. Stick to the fundamentals. You'll be fine. And I don't like sound like a salesman, but come to the 5 Cs and we'll give you all those fundamentals.
Okay, we have 2 more questions. I know we're almost out of time, but I do want to address the front half of this question really quickly, as well as the good advice that Glenn just gave. In island cultures, the issue of not speaking up is something that we talk about a lot in our leadership courses. So a lot of times you're going to have to ask them to write things out for you. And they're going to be a little bit more comfortable if they can do that rather than having to verbally share it. And sometimes that works good in a group if you have a number of people under you so that everybody's writing things without having to put their name to it. And Glenn has a really good exercise that he teaches in our 5 Seeds course about how to look for those trends or commonalities that people are concerned about. Without having them to actually, say it out loud, because there is a concern about that, speaking up. Okay, I'm going to move on to the last 2 questions so that we don't run out of time. How would you handle if a good employee can't stand her new supervisor? This employee ended up quitting after management tried to resolve the known issue.
Oh man, it's a hard one. One thing I learned a long time ago, when you interview people coming into your company, you ask them this question. Okay, I have one more question for you. What did you not like about the last bosses you worked for? Tell me what you didn't like. What irritated you about previous bosses? That's a really important question. What are the guys? I don't like disorganized bosses that are messy and they're not orderly. And then this guy is going to work for one real disorganized leader. There's going to be a mismatch right away, right? So you kind of got to play for that fit to whatever irritates them. Don't go put them in a place where it's going to get them irritated. That is a good question. Now, if to ask, but I think a lot has to do with placement. Sometimes, you know what, you have these T options, right? You can try to teach them to be able to work it. You can transfer, maybe put them someplace else where there's a better fit. Not too many options here. I think the best thing is to try to prevent, but the reality is a lot of people are stuck with this, right? So I think the change got to come from the leader. And that's why I'm telling you guys, right? Hardwire the young guys early. So they grow up with a philosophy of leadership, not just kind of workshop here, workshop there, workshop here, and there's no cohesive theory behind them, right? So I'm not answering the question completely, but you got to work the leader. Again, you got to give them choices. Look, this is your expectation. Here are the choices you got. But I expect you to do this because we are in VUCA state, guys. It's white water. And you get this leader who's drowning, going to try to lead the people, other people from drowning. That doesn't make any sense. So everybody's got to step it up. You know, there's this old cliche, right? You lead, you follow, or get out of the way, okay? And you know, there's a lot of people, I know I'm being very, very assertive here, but there's a lot of people got to get out of the way already, okay? Your time's up, you did your thing, thank you very much, but we got to move on. Here's the other thing I find a lot of people say, oh, but my people are not ready. You know what I tell them? You know, they got to put some time in. When is a person actually really going to get ready unless they actually do the thing? How are they going to get ready for something if they don't do it? And I've seen the greatest growth in people when you let them get in there and do it. And you provide a lot of coaching and support, right? They struggle a little bit, but they're going to learn faster that way than any other way you're going to learn. I didn't know anything about leadership. Nothing. Zero. Tony said, you go develop a leadership development program. Go. You go to classes, join JCs, whatever. You can figure it out. If they have enough of an aptitude and they have the right attitude, right? Sometimes you just got to give them a chance to grow. And for a lot of us today, that's what we got to do because there's no other option. What happened when all these 60 and 70-year-old people all decide to retire? Who's the next gen? And how are they ever going to get ready if you don't ever give them a chance to get ready? That's one thing, by the way, editorial comment too. You know, my generation, us boomers, many of us hanging on too long. Stick around too long. Go retire and enjoy your life. The next gen take over. Anything else, Debbie?
I think that's it for today. So thank you everybody for being here again, for taking time out of your lunch hour to spend with us, and be on the lookout for that replay that'll be available, as well as the link to the bonus toolkit. And we will be doing these periodically, so we hope you can join us in a future one. Thank you, everybody. It was great to see so many graduates as well.
I hope it was a good review for you guys. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Take care, everybody. Thank you so much. Be safe, be well.